Hi guys, welcome to Cooking with Recreation. I'm your host, Miss Amanda, and today we're going to make comfort bowls. So the ingredients we need for that are going to be potatoes. We need about 6 to 8 potatoes, cream cheese, milk, brown gravy mix, popcorn chicken, shredded cheese, corn, and don't forget your salt and pepper. Let's get these things put away and we'll get started on our potatoes. So guys, before we start peeling our potatoes, we're gonna get our oven started and our boiling water going. So I'm gonna come over here to the stove and we're gonna light, and we want that on high, and we're gonna add some salt to our water. We always add a little bit of salt to our boiling water. A safety tip, remember to keep your handle over to the side just in case anyone walks through and they bump it, it doesn't get knocked over. Then we're going to get our oven preset to 350 degrees for our chicken. All right, now we're gonna get our potatoes all peeled. So we're over here working on our potatoes, and I just wanted to let you guys know that before we did start peeling them, I gave them a good wash in the sink. We take a veggie scrubber and kind of wash all that dirt and stuff off. For this recipe, if you don't have fresh potatoes at home, you can always use instant mashed potatoes as well. It will work just the same. Just make sure you put lots of butter in it. Let's get these potatoes all clean. And some people like the skins on their potatoes, which is fine. They actually have a lot of nutritional value, so if you want to leave your skins on, you certainly can. Just make sure you scrub them very well. There's one guy, and if you get a little spot like that, you use the top of your potato peeler to kind of scoop it out. There we go. And we'll get our other one. Come on, potato. This is Jaden's favorite job. Whenever we make mashed potatoes at home, Jaden always peels the potatoes. And now Abigail is big enough to try to help too. She's 4. So it's always fun to clean up all the potato peels on the floor after they're done with that. There we go. All right, so we got our potatoes all peeled. And so I'm using a very big knife. At home, it is not necessary to use this great big knife, and we also need to make sure that we have a grown-up with us whenever we're cutting. So when we cut our potatoes, we want to make sure we hold the knife away from us and we stay straight down and on the board. If they stick a little, that's okay, they'll pop off. And we want to cut these in cubes. And I put my hands on the outside of the knife to pull away so that I don't get my fingers. We don't want to make them super thin. See, like that guy, he's a little thin, but we want all of our potatoes to be about this big, all the way around. All right, let me do one more for you. Whoops, there goes one on the floor. So after you get all of your potatoes cubed up, sitting over to my side, I have a bowl of cold water. We're going to take all of our potatoes and put them in here. We're just doing a second rinse to make sure there's no dirt or anything yucky or anything like that. And I've put a colander or strainer inside my bowl. That way, I don't have to deal with all that water. When I'm ready, I can just lift it out like that. All right, let me get the rest of these potatoes cut and I'll be right back.
The need for blood is constant, and sometimes that need becomes critical. From accident victims and cancer patients to premature babies and those with blood disorders, hospital patients rely on all of us to make sure that blood is on the shelves and ready to help. That's why the American Red Cross needs you. Make an appointment to give blood today by calling 1-800-RED-CROSS or visit redcrossblood.org. Your one blood donation can help save up to 3 lives.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, if you find yourself in need of food, help is just a phone call away. The Greater Cleveland Food Bank is here for you. Call their help center at 216-738-2067 or visit their website at greaterclevelandfoodbank.org for more information.
We've got our potatoes all cubed up and rinsed and drained. We've drained all the water off of there. We're going to take this over to our pot of boiling water and get them started. So we want to make sure that a grown-up does this part. That way we don't have a chance of any burns, okay? So we got to be careful. Come on, there we go. All right, we've got all of our potatoes in there and they've already been salted. We do want to give those just a little stir to make sure they're not all clumped together. All right. And now we're going to add a single layer of the popcorn chicken. Let's see, a little bit more. There we go. Those all spread out nice and even. And we're going to add these to our preheated 350-degree oven. And don't forget to turn on your timer. So our potatoes should take about 20 minutes and our chicken should take about 25 minutes. So when the timer goes off for our potatoes, we're going to add 5 more minutes for our chicken. Something else that's really fun about this recipe is that you can do this with your Thanksgiving leftovers. So instead of cooking new potatoes and cooking new chicken, you can use your leftover mashed potatoes and leftover turkeys and use all those ingredients to make the same thing without having to start from fresh. While we're waiting for those things, we'll get started on the gravy and our corn. We're gonna get started on our gravy. We're gonna start with a pack of brown gravy mix. I've already got them open. And we're just going to tap that into our saucepan over here. And once we get that in, we're gonna turn on to about a medium heat. And I have 1 cup of water and a whisk. If you don't have a whisk, you can use a fork instead. But we're going to add that water in and we're gonna whisk at the same time to keep it from getting clumpy lumpy. All right, we're gonna make sure that's all whisked together real good so there's no dry spots in there. All right, and we want to bring this to a boil, which shouldn't take long because it's not a lot of liquid. come on. A watch pot never boils, so everybody look away. Don't look at the pot. Oh no. Once this boils, which should only take a minute or two to get boiling, we're going to turn the heat back down to a medium. So I've got it kind of high right now to get it boiling. We'll turn our heat back down, and we want to boil for at least 1 to 2 minutes, and then you can turn it off and set it to the side. It'll thicken as it sits there. We've got to make sure we stir while this is going. We don't want to let it just sit set because it'll get thick down at the bottom and it'll all turn into a big clumpy mess if you just let it sit without stirring. All right, and you can see inside around the edges, it's getting all nice and bubbly, so it's a nice rolling boil. We're going to turn that down to about a medium. And we've already got our timer on from our potatoes, so we can kind of watch our timer and let that cook for at least 1 to 2 minutes. Stirring it, and you can see it's starting to thicken up a little bit already. And some people don't like super thick gravy. Guess what? Add a little more water to it and it'll thin it out. I like thicker gravy though. All right, now that we've let that go for a full minute, we're gonna turn our stove back off. And I'm gonna move this to the back of the stove. Make sure our handle is facing the counter or facing away so that no one accidentally bumps it or knocks it down. And I am going to, while we're over here, give our potatoes a little stir. Just to make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom of our pot. And the last thing that we have to do while we're waiting for the chicken and potatoes cooked is to throw a can of corn in the microwave. So let's get that started. Alright guys, so our timer's gone off for our potatoes. And I checked them while they were still on the stove. You want your fork to be able to nicely go through with a little resistance, but they're nice and soft. See how it fell right off? That's how you know your potatoes are done. I drained them in the sink. Make sure you have a grown-up at home to help with that because it can be a little dangerous sometimes. But we're going to take our potatoes and dump them in this bowl over here. Or you can dump them right back into the pot that you were cooking with. That's fine. And I am going to take a little bit of milk. I've got a 1/4 cup here. We might use it all, we might not. We'll start with a little. And then we're going to use cream cheese, which makes them so yummy. And I'm going to start with probably about half of this package. So we're going to get, that's about half, maybe a little bit less than half. Get a nice chunk of cream cheese in there. And before we use the hand mixer, we're going to start with a masher. So I just like the way they turn out when you start with a hand masher. And you know, if you don't have an electric mixer at home, you can mash your potatoes all the way with the hand mixer. They just won't be, with the masher, they just won't be whipped potatoes. So when we use the electric mixer, they're considered to be whipped because we add air to them and aerate them. And I think we're gonna add a little more milk to this guy. So we're gonna add probably the rest of this milk in there. And I'm gonna add a little more cream cheese. So I started with a whole package, and I've probably used about 2/3 of that package for the amount of potatoes that we did. So adding your milk and your butter or your cream cheese and things like that, even though there's all kinds of recipes out there, it's just something that you learn to do to what you like. If you like the taste of a lot of butter or you like the taste of a lot of salt and pepper, you have to decide how much to add. There's no exact recipe for that. Oop, that's our chicken going off. Let me grab that out the oven so it doesn't burn. All right, so let's get back to these potatoes. So we're gonna give it another little mash. So we're just gonna do another little mash with our hand masher because we added that extra cream cheese and milk. And we're gonna try to tap as much of that potato goodness as we can into the bowl. And then grab our hand mixer. We want to start on a low speed and then slowly increase it. If we go super fast, we're going to have potatoes on the ceiling. All right, start out nice and slow. I think we might need to add just a little more milk to these guys. Yep. So I've got to grab the milk. So we started with a 1/4 cup of milk that we added in there, and I'm just going to add a little bit more just because these potatoes steam a little too stiff. And don't start on the side where the milk is, or we'll have milk on the ceiling. There we go, that softened them up a little bit. All right. And before we turn our mixer off, we're gonna slow it back down. Slow it down. And we've got lots of potatoes stuck in there. So if we go up against the side of the bowl and put it on our first spin, and very slowly bring it up, that gets all those extra potatoes off. And there we go. Beautiful bowl of mashed potatoes. Yummy. Perfect. Our chicken should be just about done. I'm going to pull that out of the oven, and then we're going to get plated. Ooh. All right, guys, we got our chicken out the oven. And make sure we turn that off. And then we're going to start putting our comfort bowls together. Going to start with a nice scoop of mashed potatoes here. Want to line the bottom of the bowl with that. Very nice. That's our base layer. And our chicken is pretty hot, so I'm going to grab a pair of tongs out the drawer so I don't burn myself. These little guys right here will work. All right. So then we're going to add our chicken. And remember, we can use our leftover turkey from Thanksgiving or any other kind of meat that you have at home. Maybe you have some leftover fried chicken or leftover roast chicken. Anything like that would be good in here. All right, so we got a nice layer of chicken going on. And then we're going to grab some of this sweet corn. And I drained most of the milk off when I go to add it. If you like the sweet milk, you can put that on yours, whatever makes you happy. Here we go. And we can't forget the gravy. Lots and lots of gravy. Gravy, gravy, gravy. Who doesn't love a boatload of gravy? Here we go. All right, and then the best part, the cheese. Lots of cheese. And our comfort bowl is all put together. It's time to go snuggle up on the couch. Thanks so much for joining us at Cooking with Recreation. I'm your host, Miss Amanda. See you next time.